Let's see what one of his good friends thinks of all that. Frank Morano is a New York broadcasting institution. He has worked at about every talk radio station in the big city, and now works at AM 970 The Answer. He's got a tremendous show on Sunday mornings, which has become just a great listener, appointment listening for everyone. And he also produces Joe Piscopo's morning show here again on our flagship station here in New York, AM 970 The Answer. Frankie Five Boroughs, how are you?
I'm doing great, Mike. Thanks for inviting me on.
Of course, because you know all things Roger Stone. You've known Roger a long time.
About 20 years. I met Roger when he was chairing an exploratory committee for some real estate developer that was interested in running for president at the time.
Wow.
And then we worked on a number of campaigns together. We're social friends. I was a producer of a documentary about him as well. We've been through
Get me Roger Stone.
That's right. Unlike the three directors of that documentary who wrote sort of a negative op-ed about Roger in the Washington Post, I remain unabashedly a Stone friend. You know, we had Sebastian Gorka on with Joe Piscopo yesterday, and he denounced what they're doing to Roger, but he said, you know, I don't like Roger. I don't like what he does. Well, I do like Roger. I come cards up on the table. I'm a friend of Roger.
Well, he's known, I think it's fair to say, and a self-described sort of dirty trickster in politics.
Well, you know what's funny? I wrote a letter to the court, and I said, Roger has a dirty little secret that no one knows, and he doesn't want you to know, and that he's actually a heck of a nice guy. Right. And he doesn't want that out there because that would totally ruin this image that he's crafted for himself as somebody that operates in the dark corners of politics.
But he's a guy who's been around a long time,
That's right.
going back to Richard Nixon.
Absolutely.
He's got Richard Nixon tattooed on his back.
That's right.
Which tells you something about the eccentricity of Roger Stone. But of course, he's known Donald Trump for a long time as well. And I think it's safe to say that he was one of the earliest factions in trying to get Donald Trump to run for president. Is that fair?
No doubt about it. Roger has been aggressively trying to get Trump to run for president since 1987.
So maybe the freak out by the Democrats and the Trump haters over Roger Stone's prison sentence stems from the fact that many know that without Roger Stone, there very well might not be President Donald Trump.
I think that's part of it. I think there's really three issues. I think that's one. Second is anything that Donald Trump does, the Trump critics are ready to freak out about. It doesn't matter what it is. He could jaywalk and forget about it. People would be calling for his impeachment. The third is this is an opportunity for the Mueller team, which was a total bust. This whole probe was a total bust, to save face. I mean, can you imagine if they spent 2 years and all these millions of dollars, all these top-level prosecutors and all these FBI agents, and then they just turned around to the public and shrugged their shoulders and said, we didn't find anything?
But they did. They had to.
But Roger is their one scalp. That's their one thing that they're going to hang their hat on. And you see, we put a stop to people like Roger Stone.
Roger Stone went to jail,
exactly.
so obviously there was something to Russian collusion, even though there was nothing to do with Russian collusion. In fact, there's nothing that Roger Stone was convicted of on these charges that have a thing to do with the Trump campaign colluding with the Russians to impact the outcome of the election.
That's right. So Roger was convicted of obstruction of proceeding. He was convicted of lying to Congress, and he's convicted of witness intimidation. Now, in terms of lying to Congress, we're still waiting for Mr. Brennan and Mr. Clapper to be indicted for something that we know was perjury before Congress.
You'll be waiting a long time.
and we know that prisons are filled with people who were convicted of obstruction of proceeding.
Correct.
So then that leaves the more serious charge of witness intimidation, where there's this comedian, Randy Credico, who I have also known for about 10 or 11 years as well. And there's these back and forth text messages in which Roger was supposedly threatening Randy's dog or quoting Godfather Part 2. And if you know Randy and you know Roger and you know and understand the nature of their relationship, this is how they spoke with one another all the time.
Right.
They had a very bizarre frenemies type of relationship.
Love-hate kind of a thing.
Exactly. It's very bizarre. And Randy, ironically, has also written a letter to the judge, as I have, saying that Roger shouldn't get prison time.
Correct.
So you have the supposed victim in this case here saying Roger shouldn't go to prison.
And the star witness.
Exactly.
I mean, he's right. Randy Credico is this New York comedian who has been described as he's the guy who was the government star witness. And wow, what a bizarre relationship these two men have had over the years.
And anybody that's interacted with Randy over the years, going from his time hanging around Bill Kunstler, would describe Randy, as having somewhat dubious credibility.
An eccentric guy, to be sure.
That's for sure.
All right, so now we get the news, and this stuns me. Former Memphis City School Board president, a woman named Tamika Hart, revealed that she was indeed the foreperson of the jury that convicted Roger on obstruction charges last year. And right after that, her history, according to FoxNews.com, of Democrat activism and a string of her anti-Trump left-wing activism came to light. How does she get to be the jury foreperson and send this man to prison for up to 9 years?
What I was afraid of is this jury, a D.C. jury, was not going to evaluate the facts of the case fairly. They were going to convict Roger for being a Trump supporter, not for any of these crimes. But this juror, and what she's admitted here, is so damning, and I think it creates an incredible appellate issue for Roger. Now, I'll show you, Mike. There's a portion of her jury questionnaire in which she's asked the question on her questionnaire under oath: have you formed or expressed any opinion about Mr. Stone, the charges in this case, or his guilt or innocence? She says no. But on January 30th, 2019, she's retweeting, this is before she's seated as a juror, she's retweeting tweets mocking Roger Stone's arrest. And she's retweeting tweets about how nobody should be complaining about how Roger was treated by the FBI in this pre-dawn raid.
And this is before she voted to convict him.
It was before she filled out this jury questionnaire lying about whether she had formed an opinion about the case or not.
So Frank Morano...
And she tweeted about this during the trial as well.
This cannot be anything other than grounds for dismissal.
You know, I would think so.
In a normal scenario.
I would think so. I hope,
But
Judge...
this is different because it's Trump world, and anybody who likes Trump has to be taken down.
And I would hope Judge Berman Jackson does the right thing
here.
Well,
good luck with that.
But so far she hasn't.
Amy Berman Jackson is also seems reliably liberal Democrat Trump-hating judge.
Right. In spite of what Chief Justice Roberts might say, there is a difference between Trump judges and Obama judges.
Correct.
And Judge Berman Jackson, in this case, she instituted a gag order that's so broad that not only can Roger Stone not go on your show and talk, his lawyers can't even go on this show and talk.
Which is insane.
Never happened. It's never happened.
It's unprecedented. This is a First Amendment violation of the most blatant kind, and it's an outrage.
Yeah,
it's wrong.
And then what the outrage about President Trump for deigning to express an opinion about this.
Oh yeah,
my goodness. Now,
you think he's going to hold back?
He waited until Roger was convicted before saying that he thought the sentencing recommendation was out of line. Barack Obama, and again, Barack Obama's entitled to his freedom of speech too, but he went on 60 Minutes in the midst of the Hillary Clinton email investigation and said he didn't think that she did anything wrong. That was during the investigation, not after. And the Hillary's attorney in that case was Jeannie Rhee, who happened to be one of the prosecutors in this Stone case. Think about that. Hillary Clinton's personal attorney was one of the prosecutors of Roger Stone.
Wow. So, final minute. You've spoken to Roger. How is he? Is he in good spirits? And does he believe the president is going to pardon him?
Well, I think after the resignation of these 4 prosecutors and the president's supportive tweet the other day, he's feeling a lot better. He said he's had no communication with the president at all. He's hoping the president does the right thing.
But he may not have to pardon him if the courts look at this, the judicial system, and says, this is wrong. This jury foreperson, clearly there's jury misconduct
Right.
here.
Hopefully the
They'll
judge
throw it out.
will at least let him stay out on bail pending appeal.
Wow.
And hopefully the appellate courts will straighten this out here because this is outrageous.
Great insight. Thank you, my friend. Great having you in the studio. The great Frank Morano. Catch him Sundays. You can listen to him anywhere online. Morano in the morning, AM 970, theanswer.com. We'll dive into all of this and more coming up here on The Mike Gallagher Show.